everyone, Pushing Up Roses here, and today I just have a burning questions vlog for you guys. I did ask specifically for burning questions. I don't know if I would consider them burning or juicy, but I did get some interesting questions, so I'm just going to answer them for you guys. I know this is the second vlog I've done this month. I'm sorry if you think that that is just cheap content and you don't like it, but I am kind of busy this month. I am going to Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I keep wanting to call it exposition. So I'm trying to put out content for you guys before I go, and I do have a couple like spoopy things ready for Halloween, but I wanted to get something out in the meantime, so here you go. Here's your content. I hope you're happy because I wouldn't want you to be unhappy. First question is favorite death in any King's Quest game. I'm gonna go ahead and cheat a little bit on this one and say that my favorite death in King's Quest, or in any game, is Death, the tangible being that lives in the underworld in King's Quest VI. Let's elaborate on that answer just so it's not too terribly cheating. There is a death scene in King's Quest VI that I really appreciate, and that is the restore screen. That is the end screen. So when you die in King's Quest VI, it takes you to this underworld place, Death's place of living, and it takes you there, and that is actually a part that you can go to in the game. I think that is so fucking cool. I love that you can visit the place that you see in the end game in the restore screen. So that is probably my favorite death scene, is when you die at any point in King's Quest VI, it takes you down to the underworld, and then later on you can visit Death and like challenge him. It's so dramatic. I love it. If you could go back to when you started YouTube with the knowledge you know now, would you? Yes! I know way more about what I'm doing now than I ever had, and there's a lot of things I would change and go back and redo. Specifically, what I would go back and redo is use YouTube more. So if you don't know, I was on a little website called That Guy with the Glasses. What we were doing on That Guy with the Glasses, we were using a site called Blip. You may recognize that name. It recently crashed. It was the great Blip crash of however long ago that was. And at the time anyone who was being hosted on That Guy with the Glasses was using Blip because that's kind of where the money was, but that's not where the popularity was. That's only where the money was, and the money was only there if you were being hosted by a really big website. So I was using Blip a lot because I was being hosted by That Guy with the Glasses. That got me the hits. If I had just posted my stuff on Blip without That Guy with the Glasses, I would get no hits because nobody fucking went to Blip. And I know there's gonna be people in the comments saying, well, I went to Blip. It's not enough. There has to be a lot of people. I'm glad if some of you went to Blip. Trust me on this, it was not enough people to make a living on. So when I left That Guy with the Glasses, I still kept using Blip a little bit, and the disparity was crazy. I mean, on That Guy with the Glasses, on Blip alone, if I were being hosted, I would get like 15,000 hits for a Let's Play. That doesn't sound a lot, but for Blip, it is a lot. When I left and I was not being hosted any longer, I'd get maybe 700 to 1,000 hits. What I should have been doing is using YouTube the entire time and pushing the subscriptions and pushing going there, because let's be honest, let's be real here. Even though YouTube has a lot of problems and we're all very vocal about YouTube's problems, that's where people go. It is the easiest site to use. People comment there. That's where you get the most comments. That's where you get the most views. That is what's popular. And if I could do it all over again, I would have started on YouTube and stayed. I remember talking to my pal, Peanut Butter Gamer. Sorry, I almost messed up your name. I was talking to him and he was really encouraging me to do YouTube. And at the time I was like too scared. I was too scared to do YouTube. I don't really know why. At this point it's easy peasy. I'm sorry for this long rambling answer, but yeah, if I were going to do it all over again, I would just make sure I was more consistent. I would have pushed YouTube more instead of Blip, and instead of worrying about the money and things like that. I would have done that. So yeah, sorry for that long-winded answer there. Worst game you've ever played and why? Okay, I believe I've answered this before, and it kind of goes back and forth. Two of the worst games I've ever played are, of course, licensed games, because those are always the worst, especially if they're being based off of something else that you're very familiar with and you can see the glaring problems of the game. Probably Daria's Inferno. I don't know, Beverly Hillbillies comes in and kind of, well, I'll switch them out. Daria's Inferno because it's just fucking terrible to play. It's just infuriating. The sound isn't leveled, so every now and then you'll go to a different point in the game. Without expecting it, a character will talk at like 90 decibels and completely perforate your eardrums for no reason at all. Especially since I'm a huge Daria fan. I love Daria. I love the show. I love the character. So I had high hopes. I was expecting something amazing and it was just too obnoxious. That's the word I would use for that game. Completely obnoxious. It seemed like Beverly Hillbillies was purposefully made to be terrible, so I don't know if I want to really count it. I don't know. It's really bad. I mean, you can see my reviews on both of those. Daria's Inferno is like one of my first reviews that I came back to after doing Let's Plays for a long time, so it is not my best work. It has a lot of hits because of the Daria name. It is not my best work. Please be forgiving if you watch some of my older stuff, because I learned very recently I had started off doing Let's Plays and not comedic reviews, and it took me a while to find my voice and realize that, you know what, I should just be myself. That's seriously a thing I had to realize. What advice would you give someone who wants to do videos but isn't very comfortable in front of the camera? My goodness, you are asking the wrong person, because I am never comfortable in front of the camera. I have, most of you know, unless you're a stranger who's coming into this vlog, or you've just never caught it, I have a mental illness called body dysmorphia. It means my own perception of myself is completely incorrect and delusional. Let's just say that. I'm just gonna tell you kind of what I do to overcome it, and that's just to fucking do it. I'm sorry if that's really unhelpful, but that is the way that you overcome anything at all. You just have to find it in yourself to do it. I just cry through this is gonna sound pathetic. I just cry through it if I need to, and I put it out there. And for me personally, it's very fulfilling to do things that it's just very fulfilling to overcome an obstacle. I know getting there is really tough. I know it's so tough just to even get there, but the more you do it, the more you are going to be comfortable. And for me, that is the only way to get comfortable doing anything at all, whether that be talking to a camera or overcoming a certain fear or a certain phobia. And I know how fucking hard it is. I know, because it's hard every single time I do a video. It's fucking almost impossible, it seems like. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you will be. You just have to do it. You have to be persistent with it. You have to do it multiple times. It is like anything else. It's like practicing. It's like practicing to be good at something. It's no different. So I'm sorry if that's unhelpful. Those kind of questions are really difficult to answer, because what it comes down to always is just doing it. It's just committing to it and just doing it. What are your favorite game consoles from the 80s and 90s, and what was the first computer you owned? The first computer I ever owned was a Tandy 1000 when I was quite young. Did I just say 1000? Tandy 1000. And I was pretty young when I owned that. I think I was around 7, something like that. And that was the computer that my aunt initially had. I talked about this in my King's Quest 3 review. I saw it at her house, and we played the first video game I had ever played, which was King's Quest 3. And later on, as she upgraded her computers, I got her hand-me-down computers. And I loved my Tandy 1000, man. I wish that it had not gotten passed along to another family member. I wish I would have hung on to that, and I wish I had one today, but I sadly do not. My absolute favorite consoles of the 90s are probably the Sega Genesis and the N64, for reasons of nostalgia, and just I liked the games I had on there. I did not grow up with a Super Nintendo. I was actually a Sega Genesis person. That's what I asked for Christmas. And then in junior high, I later found out that my best friend had an N64, and it was new, and she had Mario. It looked fucking amazing. I've never seen anything like it, so I saved up my money, sold a lot of my Genesis stuff. I actually sold my Genesis and all of the games to get the money for an N64. I still have that same N64 I had initially bought, and over time I had gotten a few more Sega Genesis, so I do have them, but those are probably my favorite consoles. How long have you been depressed? That's a depressing question. I assume that's kind of like phrasing there, because I don't normally equate being depressed with depression. Sometimes it's all phrasing and context. How long have I had depression? I've had depression. I was diagnosed pretty young, childhood depression. I was showing symptoms around 7 years old, and then when I was 11, I had attempted an overdose on some medication I was on. It was a mild attempt. I had just popped a few pills, but I did, at that point is when I started thinking I was so depressed, I didn't want to be here, and all of that. It's all fuzzy to talk about because it was so long ago, but that's when I was like officially diagnosed with something. Over the years, I had not been particularly honest with how I was really feeling. As a kid, you don't really know what's acceptable to talk about with your parents and with your teachers and with your doctors, so I lied a lot and just simply said I was sad. I wasn't actually diagnosed with the proper mental illness until I was much older because I was so ashamed of how I was feeling. But it all started when I was very, very young. It started, I guess, after we had moved. We had moved when I was 7. I was unable to make friends after that, and it all kind of spiraled from there. But I would say 11 years old was the first time that I was actually diagnosed with something and was put into therapy for it. What's some advice you would offer anyone trying to make their YouTube mark through game reviews? One of the most important things that you can do when you're becoming a YouTuber is to be yourself. I found that my best writing came when I wrote from my own point of view. And I'm sorry, Needles is going crazy. I hope you can't hear it too much in the background. Biggest advice I can give you is be yourself. Don't worry about the popularity. Don't worry about making this into a job when you start, because that is admittedly quite rare for that to happen. YouTube is so saturated with people right now, so it kind of has to be on the back burner. Do it because you love it. I started this not making any money and getting not really any views, and I did it because I liked it. I talk about things that I like to talk about. I talk about things that I know about. If I don't know it, I'll put in the research, but for the most part, I talk about things that I know I'll be really good at talking about, and that really helps. And another really big piece of advice I could give you, and that I could give to other YouTubers, is to not be mad at other people's successes. And I know that there's gonna be pedantic people in the comments being like, oh, what if they're being harmful and stupid people? I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about being upset at harmful, stupid people. I know that there's a lot. I am talking about being jealous and being upset at your colleagues, your peers, and your friends' successes because they're doing better than you. It's easy to feel upset. It's easy to want what other people have, but for the most part, me and my friends do not want to compete. It's kind of naive to say that we're not competing, because we are competing a little bit. You know, we are technically competing a little bit for views and for audience, but it is not malicious. We are not maliciously competing with each other. It's very important to just let that be and do your own thing. And trust me, I know, because I get upset that some of my friends have exploded into higher popularity and I feel kind of far behind, even though I have a fine channel that does fine. It's just easy to get into that mindset, and it's easy to be bitter against other producers who are not even doing anything wrong other than making money and being successful. Do not be bitter about other people's successes. It will turn you into a fucking goddamn ugly person, and nobody wants to deal with people who are overly competitive. Okay guys, that actually wraps up for this Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some of my answers enlightening or at least entertaining, and if you didn't, check out this awesome headpiece I'm wearing. It's my fascinator today. I really am digging it. And if you're going to Portland, I'll maybe see you in Portland. I am not the most social of people, but I will say hi and give you a strong handshake. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.